Most guides start off with characters and then telling you their builds. It's a great approach for many people searching for content on YouTube, but what this leads to is sporadic farming and inefficiencies as you randomly pull new characters. This guide aims to do the reverse and helps you understand the big picture of how all artifacts measure up with their competition. You can use the timestamps below to navigate which artifact you are looking for if you do revisit on a future date. I will also be talking about the 2 new artifact sets later in this video. Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and this is my version 2.6 5-star artifact tier list. I'll split the ratings into 4 tiers, and there really aren't any useless sets. These ratings take into account alternatives and efficiencies of farming as well. Although it's a 2.6 list, most of the concepts we cover today will likely remain relevant for a long time, unless of course a new set comes up that significantly power creeps an existing one. We don't waste time on this channel, so let's jump right in. If there was one set that no one would dispute on, it would be this one. The only downside of this set is the difficulty to pronounce and spell its name, Viridescent Venerer. Every Anemo character will use this set as a best in slot other than Xiao, or if you run 2 Anemo in the same team. Don't think more needs to be said about this set? And double S tier and a must to farm, even taking account the pair set of Maiden's Beloved. Naturally, we then talk about its pair. This one's gonna be quick, and unfortunately with the newest healing set being released, Maiden's Beloved's place in Genshin has been relegated to the depths of the bench. A purely healing focused set in a DPS oriented game that doesn't value bishops or priests. Although I'm giving it a B rating, I want to share that this 4-piece set with a healing bonus hit piece plus prototype Ember turns any catalyst unit into a healer. I'll link a video above for an unorthodox build which I turned Ningguang into a healer for a mono Geo team. Ocean Hued Clam is the latest addition aside from 2 new artifacts, and it's a tough one to rank. Unfortunately, we have only one character in the game that skills off healing bonus currently. Even Jean, whose Ascension stat is healing bonus, doesn't scale off healing bonus. My rating on this one is solely based on how it single-handedly made healers relevant in team comps, and I'm aware that it's unusable outside of the healer group. But so is 4-piece Viridescent Venerer. The damage from the 4-piece is significant, hitting 10Ks every now and then, even with atrocious substats. Best in slot by a large margin for Kokomi, and basically makes healers now do significant amounts of damage. The rating I give this set might come as a shock to some, but hear me out. Newer players generally rely on sustain more than late game players, of course before corrosion came about, and Ocean Hued Clam allows their sustained characters to be able to dish out significant damage and are able to clear the earlier Abyss flaws quickly. Workable even with a 4-star set, I think older players need to think in the shoe of relatively newer players when ranking this set. This set is insane value for newer players and even scales into the late game for certain characters. S tier for me personally, but I can understand if people would prefer to have it a tier lower. But at least you all know why I placed it here. The 2-piece of this set, combined with the 4-star artifact Defender's Will, gives a whooping 60% defense for 4 level 1 artifacts, not even leveled up a single time. 4-star or 5-star, it doesn't matter. The 4-piece bonus basically gives an additional 24% defense and 24% geo damage bonus. Triumphing Archaic Petra, assuming you can get the stacks up. Albedo, Ito, Goro, and Noelle all use this set fairly well. Despite being an artifact tier list, I just want to share an extra point for you to note is that a character like Noelle, who snapshots at the start of a burst, might not get the full stacks on her forced rotation. You can easily find out more information about this by searching Husk of Opulent Dreams specifically for Noelle. Great set for the most part, but a combination of 2-piece Archaic Petra and 2-piece Husk is still decent and might be more efficient if you don't need Ocean Hued Clam. S tier. If we look across the Geo characters, we have characters that scale off defense, like Yunjin, Goro, Ito, Albedo, and Noelle. Zhongli, who scales off HP, and Geo Traveler and Ningguang, who scales off attack. This broad main stat makes it difficult for a single set like Husk to fully replace Archaic Petra's 2-piece bonus, making a combo of 2-piece defense or HP or attack bonus set plus a 2-piece Archaic Petra generally usable for all of them except maybe Goro and Yunjin. The 4-piece set on the other hand is an interesting one. You get the bonus if a character equipping this 4-piece set is on the field, and you must be on the field taking the elemental shot, meaning that Albedo has to take the shots to proc the effect. Personally, I use Yunjin with a 4-piece Archaic Petra and find it pretty good considering that she usually plays in a multi-elemental comp. Most of these other characters can't really make use of the 4-piece bonus and hence is pretty niche. Given its more niche 4-piece, but noting how useful the 2-piece is given how varied the Geo characters are, I rate Archaic Petra as A tier. Tenacity is quite an underrated set in my opinion. While most players hail Noblesse's effect, many forget that Tenacity's buff is equivalent to Noblesse, without energy requirements, and can even be proc off-field. Support Fischl, Zhongli's Pillar and Ye Miko are examples of such character that can keep the uptime. I run Ye with a 4 Tenacity to give my team 100% uptime on the 4-piece attack buff, and find it the most versatile given she usually isn't the main damage dealer. In my opinion, this set could be S tier as a supportive set on the right units. Tenacity to support Ye, in my opinion, is like support Bennett with Noblesse, but it's relatively niche, and HP scaling characters usually can get away with running other artifact combinations. A tier. Generally, most physical DPSs in the game take up a significant amount of field time. In that sense, the 4-piece effect requiring some sort of wind-up time to reach max stacks doesn't really matter. But if there comes a point where we have a quick swap physical damage character, then a 2-piece Pale Flame and 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry might outperform. And max stacks, 4-piece Pale Flame is a plus 18% attack better than a 2-piece combo of Pale Flame and Bloodstained Chivalry, which is pretty significant, being equals to a Gladiator's 2-piece bonus, or about 3 to 4 substat rolls of attack percentage. I'll rate it S tier, being the premier physical set for the current game state. Which then brings me to its competitor, Bloodstained Chivalry. Bloodstained Chivalry's 4-piece is largely redundant for most of the part, since the character needs to have both a reliance on charge attack and stamina cost while there must be enemies to defeat. For the most part, there are more reliable artifacts which have charge attack damage bonus, stamina management, and other mechanics like Hu Tao's jump cancel, or simply rotating the character out means that it generally doesn't make stamina cost a huge issue in the endgame to warrant farming for this 4-piece Bloodstain. Its 2-piece paired with Pale Flame still does see some use, as we mentioned previously, for those who don't want to farm a full 4-piece Pale Flame, and it's readily accessible for everyone in the artifact Strongbox, meaning you could never ever have to farm for a physical DPS in the game and just roll the Strongbox for Bloodstained 2-piece and maybe a Gladiator's. Unfortunately, it's niche and largely out of place in the current meta, as simply better alternatives exist. B tier. If we think about the things we can do with a Pyro status, we can either add more Pyro, Melt, or Vaporize. Of course, Swirling and Crystallizing could work too, and that becomes more niche. Generally speaking, Vaporize and Reverse Melt's 100% and 50% multipliers are too efficient to pass up on for a 35 increase in damage, leaving the team available to use Lavawalker as Mono Pyro. While it is possible and has been done before, you need a lot more resources to meet the same level of DPS with Vape or Melt, and I personally definitely think is more niche when taking Crimson Witch of Flames into perspective. One caveat though is with Dendro becoming more readily accessible, the burning reaction which leaves both Dendro and Pyro could be an interesting interaction and an interesting potential upside for this set. But for now, B tier. In stark contrast to Lavawalker, we have the offensive and reactions buffing set of Crimson Witch of Flames, which some might argue is double S tier. 2-piece is a universal Pyro elemental damage bonus, and 4-piece adds to reaction damage. Diluc and DPS Bennett makes full use of its passives, but Klee, Hu Tao, Yanfei all find good value from this set as well. Although it's largely a great set, the competition from the likes of, say, a 4-piece Shimenawa or Wanderer make it situationally better and depends on substats. The game doesn't break with the 4-piece set bonus, and so shouldn't your Resin Bank. One upside to this set is in Sumeru will be burning reactions, which might be excellent for EM Crimson Witch Thoma. Overall, S tier, which is largely best in slot for most Pyro DPS, only held back by highly competitive alternatives for certain characters. Emblem set is largely regarded as one of the best sets in the game, and this table shows us why. Out of all the 49 characters listed here, which excludes Ayato, only 16% of characters, the blue portion in the pie chart there, might not find this set very helpful or having only a 40 energy burst cost. This is the most universal set by a number of characters that can use at least its 2-piece, and is best in slot for characters like Raiden, Xiangling, and to some extent, Xingqiu or Mona as well. Even if it's not best in slot, the sheer efficiency of this piece means that it doesn't matter whether your main stat is HP, defense, or attack, and will lead to lower wastage and higher resin efficiency in a resource scarce game. Double S tier. Naturally, we turn to the old generalist set of Noblesse Oblige next. Using the same chart for Emblem, we know that the 4-piece buffing becomes more or less insignificant the longer the cooldown on the burst, which means, if you look at the pie chart here, the red and pinkish portions make up almost half of the characters in Genshin, which means that almost half of the characters in Genshin will have at least a 33% downtime, since Emblem effect lasts for 12 seconds. Given that 4-piece Emblem alone is already better than the 2-piece Noblesse effect, since a 4-piece Emblem gives plus 30% burst damage bonus at just the base 100% ER plus the 20% ER from its 2-piece. This set clearly has alternatives, but granted, its accessibility in Artifact Strongbox and amazing 2-piece set bonus still makes it an amazing set. Bar rated S tier given strong competition from Emblem of Severed Fates. Thundering Fury is the first artifact with a split rating, and let me explain why. On face value, is an Electro Elemental buffing set with some Electro reaction bonuses and a skill cooldown reduction at 4-piece. The 2-piece is largely effective for most Electro units, but even Keqing, who can't utilize the amazing 4-piece emblem, could make well use of a 2-piece Gladiators and a 2-piece Shimenawa for the 36% attack bonus. This set is highly inefficient to farm as well, given the pair, as we will discuss after this, is pretty niche. My first rating will be A tier, generally for this set since it's so good, but has alternatives and a workaround like a double attack set and emblem, since about 80% of Electro characters in the game, you can see from the table here, have a burst cost of at least 80 energy or more. The split rating, on the other hand, comes from the second effect of the 4-piece, which creates one of the most unorthodox builds in Genshin, such as a 4-piece Thunder Fury Bennett, to deal with the Electro Abyss Heralds by making his E even more spammable. For players looking to expand beyond the current meta, starting with this set will introduce interesting builds that could be significantly better than the current norm. Similar to Lavawalker, Thundersoother was designed as a counter to Electro enemies. Its 2-piece gives more protection and 4-piece universal damage bonus if an enemy is unaffected by Electro. Unfortunately, healing, shielding, and its niche status doesn't give it much limelight in the current meta. Granted, it's possible to make it work at 4-piece in a mono Electro team, and the effect utility doesn't justify the resin cost. Electro Charge Lingering is also less reliable than Burning's Lingering, which is Dendro plus Pyro, and unlike these Dendro plus Pyro reactions, we currently don't know what the reactions are between Electro and Dendro, which could possibly be upsides to these poorer sets currently. Being niche and a rather unhelpful 2-piece effect, I'll place it in B tier. When EM got buffed, Wanderer's Troupe directly benefited. Most players use this set for its 4-piece effect for a charge attack, Melt Ganyu, or Yanfei. The 2-piece effect is highly flexible, being able to slot on most reaction characters and benefiting from. It's also obtainable in the artifact Strongbox, which means it's easily accessible for most of us. Now the downside to this piece only surfaces when we look at Genshin holistically. Geo is unlikely to use this piece given Crystallized's lack of popularity, other than Ning maybe for the 4-piece charge attack damage increase perhaps. Anemo has 4-piece Viridescent Venerer, and Cryo has Blizzard Strayer, which is Freeze Ganyu's strong alternative. Pyro has 4-piece Crimson as well, and Electro generally would want to run either an attack 2-piece set with Thundering Fury or a 4-piece Emblem. And Hydro already has strong best in slots for most characters. So what's left is the advantage Wanderer has is that it's a very good generalist set that wraps across all the elements at 2-piece and is very efficient to swap around for most characters. But other than that, and aside from maybe Ganyu or Yanfei, this set leaves much to be desired at the top for now. A tier, personally, highly flexible at 2-piece but faces strong competition across the board. Blizzard Strayer is no doubt the second easiest set to rank. 40% crit rate on frozen units, and a total of 55% crit rate if you run double cryo. Add a Rosaria to the pair, and you get a 75% crit rate character with absolutely no crit rate substats or surtslet. It's kinda broken. So much so that if a non-cryo unit is played in freeze, they likely can run this set as well. Not to mention, Chongyun's Infusion and Shenna's cryo buff makes it all the more interesting to run a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer on cryo Keqing. Ioto might also do excellent with this if played freeze. Double S tier with not a single doubt in my mind. Heart of Depth, the premier Hydro buffing set that is best in class for Hydro main DPSs like Child, Mona, and probably Ayato as well. The 2-piece can be used in a combination with Noblesse or Emblem set for a general purpose use for most Hydro supports. The 4-piece on the other hand competes with the next 3 sets that we will be talking about since they all buff normal attack damage. Out of which, Heart of Depth has the poorest 4-piece buff, but is relatively generic to proc, and the 2-piece Hydro bonus makes it the best set out of the 4, which we will cover later, for these 3 Hydro main DPSs. S tier with an amazing pair Blizzard Strayer in a domain. Retracing Bolide provides 10% more buff on the 4-piece effect than Heart of Depth, and the real niche comes from the utility of being able to be used by any auto-attacking character that plans to use a shield anyway. Hu Tao, Noel, and C4 Yanfei are examples that come to mind of characters that work with this piece well, given their preference for shields in their kit. Heart of Death is still superior for Hydro characters though. I'll rank this set A tier, being a decent general and solid set, but competes in a highly contested niche. Gladiators will be the benchmark set for the next 3 attack percentage sets, and comparisons will be drawn when determining ranking. Gladiators are easily obtainable from the artifact Strongbox, but have a largely unexciting 4-piece bonus, even for Ayato, who utilizes normal attack passives well. It pales in comparison to Heart of Death, given the 15% Hydro damage bonus is oftentimes much more superior. Its lackluster 4-piece makes it an excellent benchmark set for the next 3. I'll place Glads in A tier. Shimenawa is a fantastic set for both efficiency of farming and utility, since its pair is the universal Emblem set. The 50% buff in its 4-piece is the uncontested number 1, but at a cost of energy, meaning their bursts will be less used. Yoimiya uses this set extremely well, together with non-electro Keqing and Hu Tao too, if you are able to not rely on her out for survival. Overall, a mix of utility, ease of farming, and best-in-class 50% buff makes me rank Shimenawa higher than Glads in S tier. How echoes work is basically, on your first hit, you have a 36% chance to proc the passive effect. And then on your second hit it goes to 56 if you failed the first, and so on and so forth until you land the passive. The chance to land at least one hit by the second proc is 72%, and 93% to hit at least 1 in 3 procs. And in 5 hits, you are guaranteed to land at least one of the passive proc. What this means is that a character who has a quick normal attacking style is likely going to make best use of this set, since their damage is smaller and spread out over many instances. The most important thing that currently no one seems to be doing is actually to calculate on average how much value do we get out of this 70% bump per attack. If you're scared of numbers, don't worry, just sit back and relax and I'll be explaining it to you. By taking this concept of cumulative probability, we aim to find on average how much is this 70% buff worth. Because the chance is kinda weird, in which it's not constant, and depending on what happened on the previous instance could change drastically, I found that doing an extensive tree diagram was the most representative. I did 5 number of normal attacks, because on the 5th hit you are guaranteed to succeed, and I wanted to have every single unique pattern being represented, after which 6 and 7 branch will have the same patterns generally repeating. This makes for a better representation of overall damage rather than just using 1 or 2 normal attacks and calculating probabilities there. These 32 outcomes are then calculated for the individual probabilities of occurrence and then multiplied by the amount of damage that's added. For instance here, the top we see that there are 5 successes, so that leads to 5 times 70, 350, and so on and so forth depending on the number of successes in that particular scenario. What we then do is we take this probability and multiply by the additional damage that's added to get a probability weighted average. Alone, as an individual row items, it doesn't really matter, but once we add them all up, we get the estimated bonus normal attack damage as a percentage of attack per hit, which is about half of that 70%, around 33%. In simple terms, in a string of 5 attacks, the average normal attack damage added to each hit will be 33% of attack. If this was multiplicative, it would be inferior to the other sets in terms of a percentage value. And of course, a better comparison will be to analyze the additive damage or multiplicative damage, which Sakapoko has done an amazing job at doing using Yoimiya as an example. Take note that the video I link above, he uses the maximum value of 70%, but we just found out here today that the average is actually much lower at 33% or half of what was calculated. But basically, the takeaway from this is that the conditions for Echo to be the best in slot is very situational. Firstly, your character has to be a fast, normal attacking character that needs to use their burst and can't afford the energy loss from Shimenawa. Second, they also need to be a ranged character, which means they can't take advantage of the Gladiator's 4-piece bonus. And some of you might be thinking, what about Ayato? In my opinion, Heart of Death will likely be better after looking at the stats here. These extremely niche conditions make me rate Echoes an A tier on par with Gladiators, given that it's easier to farm with another plus 18% attack set. And of course, this video is of pre-release and the analysis done are all based on what we currently know of additive damage and the text presented. In my opinion, currently for the roster, we have a hybrid physical and cryo, normal attacking burst alloy might be the best unit to make use of this set. Vermillion Hereafter is an interesting set that is perfect for Shell, since he loses HP in his ult and has a very long fill time. What's more interesting is that it could potentially be abused with Bennett's buff, self-pyro application, and in the future, if there's a self-application of Dendro. This way you get a passive burning and healing it off while getting the 66% attack from the set and Bennett's buff. For now, A tier, because other than Cell, no one really uses this set well. But I definitely see its place in future Bennett teams if anyone can self-apply Dendro or more HP lost characters currently appear. The math has shown that this set is best in slot for Cell, might not be worth gunning for if you already have an amazing ratio on another set for him currently. And as a bonus for watching till the end, in my opinion there are 3 domains that are the best places to farm for resin efficiency for almost all accounts. In first place, we have Emblem and Shimenawa, which offers the most versatile set in the game, Emblem of Severed Fates, with a flexible 2-piece attack percentage Shimenawa. And in second place, we have the amazing Blizzard Strayer with the Anchoring Heart of Depth set. Farming this domain gears both your Hydro and Cryo units, setting you up for a good freeze control team easily. The third domain on this list might come as a surprise given my middle of the road ratings for both of them. Vermillion Hereafter and Echoes of the Offering new domain comes in third place. For those of you who don't know, out of every 5 characters in Genshin, almost 4 of them skill off attack in some way, meaning a plus 36% attack dual is probably going to be pretty versatile on most characters in Genshin. This domain will be really quite excellent for those planning to run a double attack set on Shenhe too. Of course, the Artifact Strongbox is an easy alternative to obtain Gladiators. If you guys found this video helpful, you might like to learn more about characters in the tier list videos right here. See you in the next video.